Hey everybody, welcome to the stream. Um, Happy Tuesday. My name is Bernard Chang, professional comic book artist slash designer. This stream is called Sketch Fighters, and for the new year we're going to be doing some storytelling, comic book storytelling tutorials. Right now we're starting with page layouts. We've come up with our own kind of short story which started last week, so if this is the first time catching this stream and you want to jump on, you can rewatch last week's stream here on Twitch or also on YouTube. Just Google my name, Bernard Chang, on YouTube. I have my own channel there. On Twitch, I think the episodes stay on for a few weeks and then they get scrubbed, but they're up on YouTube for the foreseeable future. So make sure you can watch it there. We're going to have possibly CHEN and Tommy Lee Edwards, both professional comic book artists, joining us shortly to help chime in and give critique. We have, right now we have Courtney, our resident comic book expert. I think Fletch Chu Fong is going to be joining us shortly. Fletch is also a former executive at DC Comics. He was in charge of all the events. So if you've ever been to a comic book convention where DC Comics had a presence, those are all put on by him. We have a Discord channel. There's a lot of information dump right now. So if you've done the layouts and you want me to review them, upload them onto the Butthead/artwork channel, and I'll be going over some of these. I'm going to be treating these next few shows like a class that I taught at Art Center College of Design, sequential illustration class. And so usually we start off reviewing a crit, a pinup, where all the students would kind of like post up their homework on the boards, and I go one by one, kind of reviewing your work. We're discussing it, and then we go into this week's lesson and covering what would possibly be a homework assignment for next week. Right now we're just doing layouts. We're trying to push, storytelling pages, panel pages. If you guys are interested in breaking into comics, this is the way to go. As opposed to pinups or cover images. Those are my birds in the background. A lot of what you see on social media these days, people post commission drawings, pinups, and you know, they're fun and cool to look at, but if you really want to be a comic book artist, you have to learn sequentials. That's literally what sequential illustration means. So we're going to be hopefully in the next few weeks going over it, and if you guys enjoy it, we'll continue it. Let's see, Fletch is on stream as well. Fletch?
Hey guys, how you doing? How's everybody? Hopefully I'm not sounding too electronic-y today.
Fletch does not sound like a robot just yet.
Just yet.
Just yet. We'll see. There's still time. Let me go over the chat real quick. Say hello to the people in chat. Long Woo keeps the streak going 2 weeks in a row. Edges out Lurky Lurk. Lurky Lurk almost made it there. Simple Man, what's up? Simple Man Tony, how are you doing from the Heartland? Jamie Odell, what's up, Jamie Odell? Jamie, did you post up pages on the Discord? Jay Dang, good to see you, Jay Dang. How are you doing, Mr. Joshua? How are you doing, Mr. Joshua? Jeremy Joe, what's up? If Racer GRX is here, he needs to send me his address. And maybe No, I think I got Jeremy Joe. I mailed out a bunch of stuff over the week, last weekend, over the weekend. So some of you might have been should be receiving it, might have received it. Fingers crossed. If there's stuff that I owe you that I haven't sent out, always feel free to DM me on Instagram to remind me. El Cabon Inc., good to see you. Beef Skeleton, what's up? James Quo, resubbed 16 months. Thank you so much, James Quo. All the subs, very appreciative of everybody's support on the stream. All the subscription money from Twitch goes to pay for shipping and other incentives that we give out, stickers, things like that. So thank you again for all of your support. Kevin P. West, good to see you, Kevin P. West. Agnes Slam, A19, hello. Golf Boy Sunday, subbed 18 months. Wow, holy cow. You guys are real troopers there, Golf Boy. So Golf Boy, I almost got around to sending yours out, but then I remembered you had a print, and that comes in a tube. So I'm going to have to repackage everything for you. But I'll try to get that out. It's not going to happen this week, but next week. I got a big deadline this week, so I got to try to finish a whole bunch of pages before the end of the week. Yeah. So let's see, anybody else? Cabone Inc. El Cabone's our first winner on the stream. D. Rogers, thank you for the sub. 17-month streak. We got some old timers here, guys. D. Rogers, thank you so much. Good to see you on stream tonight. Courtney's also in chat. Roy Batty, what's up, Roy Batty? Hey Bobby K. Hey Bobby K sent out some stuff for you. Let's see. Crispy Egg Roll. Whoa, Crispy Egg Roll. Resubbed 18 months. Thank you so much, Crispy. Good to see you on here. I missed Jim's stream on Sunday. I think I'm getting his schedule down. He's like streaming like every 2 or 3 weeks. He did a nice piece on Twitch. That show, the robot, the Egyptian robot, looks like the helmet for the old Battlestar Galactica Viper pilots. That used to be one of my favorite TV shows growing up. But I think I'm pretty much caught up in chat here. Yojimbo's here. He's our moderator extraordinaire. If anybody has any questions or anything, Yojimbo probably has the answer to. So, all right, without ado, without any delay, next one is this Sunday, 10. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Let me set up. Let's see here. Fletch, Courtney, how are you guys doing?
Doing all right. I had no idea what he was drawing. I didn't know it was a. I didn't recognize that from growing up. Those cartoons.
Oh, it was like a Ultraman kind of show, where like it's basically a guy in a rubber suit, right? Like an Egyptian robot. It's like a old Japanese TV show, but it would be on like in the afternoons. It wasn't like a primetime show. It was like you get home from school.
I know that one. It like has kind of like the Egyptian whole head.
Yeah, it's like an Egyptian head, but like the robot body, and like a kind of like a skirt.
I think that's like that might have been like a really, really, really old, like original. Oh, I think that's like an original Giant Robo type thing. If anody.
Yeah, something like that. It's like one of those original robot stuff.
Yeah. Giant Robo was re-released a couple times for anybody who.
Wait, hold on. D. Rogers is getting on a flight tonight. D. Rogers might be the warm nuts. Those are the best. When you fly, I fly American. That's where I've been getting all my frequent flyer elite status. And you get bumped into business. They give you a plate of warm nuts when you first sit down. The best. You guys should warm up nuts, and it's like mixed nuts, like a variety, like left nuts, right nuts, You guys didn't get that joke. They used to, when you sit down, they would like serve you an alcoholic drink. Victor Faro, welcome to the stream, Victor. But I think because of COVID, they don't serve you the drinks now until we get in the air.
They got those branded D's nuts.
Yes.
I prefer the toasted nuts.
And it's also in the ceramic bowl. I think it's just kind of classy. The ceramic bowl has a nice weight to it, and then the warm nuts, and then you get like a little drink, like a little scotch or beer to go with it.
Yeah.
Makes the flight, sets the mood for the whole flight.
You gotta wash it down when it's a little too salty. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And I made my Platinum Pro status. Although, D. Rogers is a little, I have to bow down to D. Rogers. He's got a little bit higher elite status. I was able to, through my maneuvering last year, re-up for the Platinum Pro, where hopefully this year, if the COVID situation gets under control, be doing a little bit more traveling. Can head back to Asia for a little bit. Really take advantage of that elite status. Fletch, what airline do you usually fly?
I used to fly Continental a lot, but now I switched over to Delta.
Continental's not around anymore, are they? What are you gonna?
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me you flew Eastern Airlines, or
no
Pan Am?
Continental, and then it became United. But Pan Am, I only flew I think a couple of times back when I was younger, but it was mostly been Delta lately. It used to be JetBlue and an American, but United. Yeah. But mostly now, all my flights have been with Delta or Southwest, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, JetBlue and American are now partnered. So, okay, let me get everybody's.
They are?
Yep. So JetBlue, you can use your American points to fly JetBlue, vice versa. Okay, let me pull up this.
Have you flown Jet Suite X yet?
No. You mean the airline to Vegas?
To Vegas, yeah, the smaller cities. It's like a separate airport.
Yeah, no, I haven't flown. You flown that? Big baller.
Not yet. I'd like to, but they treat you like a rock star.
Right. Well, it's like what is it, like $500 each way to Vegas?
Not even. It's like 120.
Oh, it's only 120? Oh.
Yeah.
There is D. Rogers might know this. Out of LAX, they have this other service where I think it's like you pay an extra $500 a head, if not more, and you enter the airport through a separate entrance, and they take you to a different terminal where there's like a private suite, and you get like free food and drinks, and like your own little, ensuite like couch and TV, and then they take you in a private like town car and they drive you to the plane, and you get on the plane before everybody, so you avoid the airport crowds. Almighty Ace is in chat. What's up, Ace? How you doing? Hope you're drawing. Hope you're feeling better. If you're new to the stream, make sure you hit that follow button down on the bottom. We stream usually every Tuesday. Let me pull up this. Where's this browser? Do I need to pull up the? Do I need to pull up the? The Jim Lee drawing? Or you guys have it, or someone put up a link already? What am I looking up?
I haven't seen it.
Discord.
You can bring it up.
Okay. All right.
Oh wow.
Okay, we got the Discord up. First up, Simple Man. Simple Man got excited, started doing his own story. Okay. Let me see, how do I expand this so that we can see it? Let me do a quick review in terms of so we're doing a 5-page short story. Last week we came up with the two characters, the two main characters, the hero and the villain. The hero is the we chose through a poll is Batgirl, and the main villain is Dr. Doom. The scenario is that where are the pages? Oh, that's not it. The scenario is that Dr. Doom, we find ourselves in the middle of a bank heist. Dr. Doom and 3 Doombots are robbing Gotham Central Bank, or a bank in Gotham. We didn't get too specific on that. And they have broken into the vault, and Dr. Doom is holding what appears to be like a golden porg as kind of this thing that he's after. And that's pretty much page 1. Also going into establishing all of the different various points in the story. We need to establish the vault, the bank teller or manager, the civilians that are being held hostage, and where is this? I had it here, and now it's not here anymore. Ugh. So frazzled. Fletch, can you Courtney entertain the masses a little bit while I look for
Hi,
this?
Tommy's here too.
Oh, hey, what's up, Tommy? How you doing?
Hi, good. Who else is here? Courtney's here.
Hey, Tommy.
Hi.
And Sean's here as well.
Sean's
Oh,
here?
and Fletch.
Oh.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, buddy.
We want to sing happy birthday to Tommy?
Oh.
Is your birthday today?
No.
A couple days ago.
It was
Oh.
on Saturday, I think.
I have a video then to send you of Bernard singing happy birthday then.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah. I was saving that for a special occasion. It's very Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, jeez.
Isn't everything is doing very Marilyn Monroe?
You did. I don't think you were drunk either, so you should remember that.
Okay.
I just gotta save those for the right occasions.
All right, here we go. Look, let me pull
Yeah, I
up.
ended up making my birthday last all weekend, so as it
Not-
should.
Nice.
I love your picture with your hand on your face.
Oh, yeah. We've been doing that, man. I've been doing that every year. I take a very depressed photo of myself on my birthday when I'm about to blow out the candles. It's been at least 10 years or so of doing that photo.
Oh, man.
I
You
remember
captured perfect how I feel sometimes on my birthday.
Yeah.
one of the first ones you did, Tommy, was outside of the New York Comic-Con. And there was a wrecked taxi across the street from this crappy hotel we were staying at.
Yeah.
Golden
remember
Poor Court Carpenter, yes. Welcome to the stream. So we got to vote on all the characters. Let's see. Is this thing around my beard bothering people?
No one's looking at you, man.
I know, but I'm just seeing it. It looks it's bothering me.
We're looking at the page.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Okay, it's much better.
Hey, Bernard, did your face hurt?
Huh?
Did your face hurt?
Does my face hurt? No, why?
Because it's killing me.
Because it's what?
It's killing me.
Oh, it's killing you. Oh, Poop Kid's here. What's up, Poop Kid? Fecal Lad. Dung Dude. Okay, so this is the premise of the story. This is uploaded onto the Discord again if you guys want to look at it. The first page is Gotham Bank. Doom and 3 Doombots robbing the bank. The next sequence, which will be assignment for today, is Batgirl busts in from the skylight and takes out the Doombots. So that's going to be the next page. Next 2 pages. So in doing, right now we're going to focus on page 1. We figured out that we're establishing Gotham Bank. We need to establish Dr. Doom, the 3 Doombots in the vault, in the middle of the robbery, holding the Golden Porg, or the Golden Porg as the object of his villainous crime wave. We have the hostages, the bank manager, 2 security guards, 2 customers possibly. Here's Dr. Doom holding the Golden Porg, and then Dr. Doom possibly hearing or seeing a shadow off panel. Traditionally, we're working in a traditional Marvel plot format. We're being very loose. I feel it gives the artist a little bit more leeway to adjust the paneling. You think about all of these items with the kind of like a little bit of a flow chart. This is a flow chart, or this is like a brainstorm thing? Where here's the bank. We know that it's in Gotham. We know it's part of the vault. Is it a circular door, thick door, square door, whatever the door is? The bank, you also have to establish day or night, or think about that. Hostages, what are the hostages? The manager, probably the 2 security guard, maybe one of them is being old. 2 customers, maybe male and female. These are also normal dressed civilians. This is kind of a sample story. We're making it up, but again, everything in here will prepare you to have pieces that would fit into your portfolio to look for work. You think about superhero comics, yeah, sure enough, they're wearing armor or spandex or, half-nude bikinis, and all muscular and stuff. But you still have to also draw regular people and in regular settings. So it's important to have those elements in your storytelling pages. We'll have talk panels, setup panels, action panels, or action pages, talk pages, just to have a nice balance of everything. And then to recap, also to encourage people when you first start, this was taking all of those elements, all of these, which initially we broke down into maybe 5 different beats or 5 different visuals. You can combine all 5 of them, consolidate it into one single panel. Or in another case, we broke it down and did we did a 5-panel sequence here, where we start out with maybe the forearm of Doom in the foreground. Doom has not stepped inside of the vault yet in this shot. His Doombots are in there. They've pulled out a lot of excuse me, what are these, the security safety boxes. They rummage through piles of cash, stacks of cash, maybe also a couple customers or bank manager being tied up. Another shot of here the Doombot grabbing with the Golden Porg, and here in the foreground the Golden Porg being handed to Doom. Here we don't really see Doom's face, but the next shot we do. And then maybe Doom looking off panel, one way or the other. I tend to like to flip things, keep it on the edge of the page. So, lastly, and as we go along, understanding that there are a couple rules that I like to implement in storytelling. Of course, rules are meant to be broken, but still, rules nonetheless help define kind of the context in which you're telling the story. So visually, I like to look at it as, I like to think of this as grammatical context. Grammatical context. meaning what you're drawing, how you draw it, how you lay it out, begins to form the way you're communicating to the reader, right? So right now we're speaking English. I'm trying to speak in somewhat coherent sentences, trying to articulate and get my point across in a way that everybody will understand, or at least you will. And the same thing should apply to how you lay out pages. So because comic books is universal. When I draw a page, I don't know, Tommy, if you think the same way, I like to look at it like I want to tell a story purely just on the images. I don't want to rely on any of the word balloons. So even though there will be word balloons there, I want the reader, when they're flipping through the book, to understand the basic premises that are happening. Rule number 1, left to right before up and down. Left to right before up and down. So in that context, I'm referring to panel shapes, panel layouts. So if you think about it, from an old school, pretend this is a typewriter, right? You guys know what a typewriter is, right? And you so you like typing. It gets to one end and then droop, it goes back, and then you start over again, right? So left to right before up and down. So in that sequence, in that sense, if we did a layout like this, if we did a layout everything is left to right before up and down. And in that essence, to me, something like this would work, but something like this will not. So this works, this does not. This, we're reading left to right before up and down. If you have some kind of sequence that's here, if we go left to right before up and down, but then if we go up and down on the left side, I know you guys are on a delay, Tommy, but if we go left to right before up and down, then you still have to cross over into this panel again.
Yeah.
And that
I think I
becomes
just
confusing.
did a page like that in Jupiter's Legacy.
Yeah. I see a lot. Sometimes I see this sequence here, right? And so they have this panel, like 1, 2, 3, and then what happens is it's really 3, 4, 5, right? This is how they're thinking, but this is the same as these two are the same pretty much, because 1, 2, left to right before up and down. But when you get here, right, you're training the reader to go read in a particular way. But now you're going like, oh, now I want you to go up and down before left and right.
Yeah.
And when you do too many of that, it becomes, it's, sometimes people get away with it because you've been reading comics a lot. But for me, it's always like, stick to the same rules. And if you're going to break it, you break it for a reason. So the only reason, the one time I might be able to do something like this is if these 3 panels were happening at the same time. And I want to be able to, in essence, purposely confuse the reader to give the illusion of compounding sequences happening at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's a good tool for making things happen at once.
Right. So if you're doing it with purpose and intent, then that's when it would be acceptable. But if you're doing it without that context, then, and in most cases when I do see it happen, and it happens a lot in professional comics, I feel like, again, comic book
I immediately rip the comic in half and throw it in the garbage.
Well, I use it to line the bird cages. which
cool.
is similar, right? Because they poop on you.
Yeah, at least you're getting a use of it.
So, what's up, Way High? Way High is in chat. I'm just reading some more guys in chat. Um,
So the story that we've got going on this assignment, though, Bernard, you don't really have a lot of super complex stuff. I feel like you've kept it pretty simple, So there's not a lot of, but you can make it. You can you know, you can take a real simple thing and make it extra hard on yourself for no reason, or make it by trying to get super creative. You feel like especially a lot of young artists are like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I did this, and yeah, sometimes it's a really cool thing, but again, like Bernard's got these rules, and the rules to follow that are like storytelling comes first, making it clear comes first, us being able to read it comes first.
right.
If there's something really cool you did afterward, like that's just icing on the cake.
Yeah. And in particular, the purpose of this exercise really is to prepare a portfolio that you can show to get work. And a lot of times, again, when you're showing a portfolio as a young artist, Tommy, you broke in like when you were 20, right? 2021. I broke in.
Yeah.
I broke in around the same age at 20. Our mutual friend John Paul broke in at 19. And so most people that are breaking into comics are kind of in their 20s, although I think we did it a little bit younger than most. But editors are trained to look at red flags. And you want to eliminate as many red flags as possible and basically stick to as fundamental of an approach as you can, in my opinion, right?
That's absolutely true. You want to be able to do what's best to serve the story too, and the editors will spot that.
Right, and you want to be almost taking a more conservative approach to your storytelling. Once you land the job, carry through, but then you can actually maybe expand a little bit more. But again, the sample pages are to service yourself as a storyteller, or to showcase yourself as a storyteller, not as a person that puts a lot of icing on a cake. So first up is Simple Man. Simple Man, let me see here. You also put in Word Balloon, Simple Man. Okay, going a little bit beyond. So we start off with a 4-panel sequence. Tony, are you still in chat? Let's see here. Okay, there we go. All right. Your Jimbo's right.
Is this the fourth?
Hmm?
Is this the fourth page?
This is the first page. Everybody's still reviewing the first page with Dr. Doom in the bank.
There were 4 different submissions by him, so I wasn't sure that was the first one or.
Oh, I think this is the first one. The other one he did, he put in. It was he had done his own story. Oh, there's a other. Okay. All right, I'm gonna do. I have Simple Man's up first.
Okay. Sorry.
Wow, there's some good stuff in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really encouraged to see everybody. All right, Simple Man. I'm just gonna go review these. Do you want me to review this one or the previous one? Yeah, Simple Man did a bunch of redraws. So, okay. So, he started out with a 4-panel sequence. What I would also encourage you guys right now, also is, you notice the last panel, there's a slight diagonal. Too bad I can't show like my arrow.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
But here, let me see if I can swing this on one side, and then.
Yeah, good idea.
I swing this on one side, and then over here I can kind of sketch it. Right. So when I mentioned about being as conservative as possible, this is Simple Man's layout. Right. I would just, there's no need to do. Just keep it as conservative as possible. No crazy panel shapes to further emphasize. Because a lot of times when you do something like this, the intent is that, well, this might seem kind of boring. And if I did this, it would make it a little bit more exciting. But I would say, try to avoid this, because a lot of times this is more like icing on the cake, what I would tell people, right?
BC.
Huh?
It's like Sean Paul's Superman. Like usually when you see Superman in DC Comics, you see a lot of panels like being broken and shattered, and a lot of just crazy like cool paneling. But in Sean Paul's sample work, it was all just simple storytelling of Superman like saving people from the fire. Like it was super simple,
Right.
and it was just clean story work. Not all like Superman breaking out of like everything and just
Yes. Thank you, Ace. Exactly, that's the point. So a lot of times you'll see like a cake, but really, to me, when I see stuff like this, the inside of the cake is really like a cupcake, and you've tried to mask the size of the cupcake by putting all this icing on it to make it look like a real cake. And so when you really bite into it and you cut a piece of it, you realize that, only a little bit of it is meaty. The rest is all icing. And so what Ace just mentioned about John Paul's, if you go back a couple streams, I did a tribute, and in the tribute to John Paul Leon, I showed some of his first pages in his portfolio when he was breaking into the industry. And ultimately times a lot of younger artists tends to do too much of this, the dark area being the actual cake and the other area being the icing, right? You want to eat a cake that is, for me, mostly cake and very little icing, or complement the icing. Anyways, Sean is in chat as well. Good to see Sean. Sean is, I'm assuming, finally put his kids to bed. All right. Okay. So Tony. Okay. Let's see this. Tony, do you have anything else about these pages? Same different versions. Okay. And then this other version here. Let's see. Here's the next, I guess this is the second page, or this is a different page. We start out with looking over the shoulder, and we realize that it's Doom, and that he is, the second page, this version, if this is the same page but a different take on it, this one's actually a little bit more exciting. We start off with the upper left-hand first panel over the shoulder of what is kind of a, we don't see Dr. Doom's face yet. The second panel, we reveal that it's Dr. Doom. And then the third bottom panel, he's kind of, we see in the extreme foreground a security guard being knocked out and some other people knocked out. And he's walking through a circular doorway, the vault. Okay. Ace, did you do this layout, Ace? Ace?
No, sorry, I didn't do this. I didn't do this layout.
Come on.
This weekend I spent time doing contours.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, environmental ones too, so we're good on that.
Simple Man, anything else you want to add in chat about this? The first one is kind of standard. We start off with kind of a reveal of inside the vault. He's pointing to something. He's saying stuff. And then something breaks. Actually, is that the bottom? That's 2 panels there on the bottom, I think. There's this very small one. He has this very small panel here. 1, 2, 3, panel 4.
They're doing a Marvel hero and a Marvel villain and a DC hero.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. This is just for exercise. None of this is going to get printed anyways. It's just for a portfolio. Okay. Yeah, so what happens is this gets really lost. I mean, if you were to do a standard page, there's no reason why it can't be bigger. It's so small that ultimately when it gets printed, you're going to lose out on anything, any of the details of the story there. All right. Okay, Tony. Let's see. I'm going to go in reverse order here. Dom Gomez. Is Dom Gomez here on chat? Dom Gomez. Let's see, Dom Gomez. This is, I like what Dom Gomez here. Oh, Beef Skeleton, okay. I like what Beef did here. Obviously, Beef drew out the scenes first. Another key component of last week's stream in preparation for your layouts. The worst thing you can do is when you read a page, when you read the plot, go immediately to this format where you're blocking out what the panel shapes are. This is the worst thing you can do for yourself. The best thing you can do for yourself is to draw out different camera angles, and then once you choose which one you like, I like 1. I think this is what I really like, and then you realize that, well, this 1 is more of a horizontal shape, and 2 is more of a vertical shape. That way, then you can compose your page a little bit better, based off of what you feel is the most impactful image to tell the story. How do you feel about that, Tommy? Do you have that approach?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, and so it looks like here. Whose is this again?
This is Beef Skeletons.
Yeah, I think the Beef here has got yeah, so he's kind of figured out, kind of the geography of where everybody is, and then so that's what he's got going on here, right? So he hasn't done any layout yet.
He hasn't done any layout. It's on the next. Let me move to the next slide.
I really like that first shot though. How he's got like a lot of space. You've got somebody in the foreground. You've got a nice middle ground there. You've got a background. So it's a nice sense of space there. That first drawing.
Yeah, and there's nice depth. You have a foreground, midground, background element. This ultimately is kind of his cleaned up layout. He's showing a lot of the establishing shot of the bank. We see a couple different elements that he puts in there. There's the skylight. Although he already has, I think, Batgirl in the skylight. It's an interesting choice. Is the vault in the back? What is the black figure silhouette in the vault?
I think that might be Doom.
Is that Doom? But then this Doom is this a Doom bot in the foreground? Or that's...
I don't know what Doombots are.
Doombots are, I guess, his minions. What do Doombots look like? Shit. I asked that question last time, but I don't know if anybody...
They look like Doom.
Do they look like Doom? They're just... Okay, yeah, so they just look like Doom. They're basically copies of Doom.
Yeah. So those are he's got 3 Doombots in there. They've taken hostages.
These guys do not look like Doom.
Well, again, this is just the layout.
No. I'm talking about. I just looked up Doombots, and these guys look like Cyclopses. Like they have one hole in their face, and they're green.
Okay. Well,
they're like cyborgs.
Oh, you're looking at so there's one with ones with a circular face, but I'm also seeing other ones that are.
Like copies of Doom?
Yeah, copies of Doom, basically. Let's
Yeah,
go.
that's one of that.
Let's go for the sake of this one. Let's choose the one with a circular eyeball in the face, just to have a little bit differentiation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go with the circular face. Let me see if you guys can see that one. Shoot. Oops. All right. Where is
I was running late tonight. We had a rare date night, rare night away from home.
you went out on a date?
Yep.
Did you see
Melissa and I
Spider-Man yet?
Yeah, I saw it. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
But tonight we went to see. We went to Japanese, got sushi, and then went to see licorice pizza.
Oh.
How was that?
It's good. It's the first time I've ever seen a Paul Thomas Anderson with someone else. For some reason, I've seen every one of his movies by myself. And this one I was able to convince Melissa to go, and she liked it a lot. So we both enjoyed it. Oh yeah, I see those Doombots. They're different kind.
Yeah. So, let's go with this one here in the lower left hand, with the left hand corner. Where you just see the faces. The bodies can be the same, but let's just make the face like a circular face, like Ace said. All right. That way, just to clarify a little bit better. That's Asian Baller. Good to see you. What's up, Justin? All the way from Japan. Arigato gozaimasu. Actually, Justin's Chinese, though. So, hope you're staying warm. What is the quarantine status for a foreigner going into Japan right now? Is it still 3 days? Okay, anyways.
You can't go.
You can't go? Oh, you can't, foreigners can't even get in? Shit.
No.
Okay. All right, so this is, let's see. So Beef Skeleton, let's get back to this. Beef Skeleton's got a 3-panel layout sequence. The first shot is the establishing shot. The only comment I would say here, well, there's a couple comments, but what stuff that jumps off, what I really like, Sean, you want to jump on? This is, I really like this panel here, panel 3, where it's the extreme close-up of the hands, one hand passing the golden porg to the other. However, again, some of it is just maybe we haven't discussed this earlier, but the differentiation of the Doombots versus Doom himself, so that there is a more visual distinction. The second thing I would talk about is that panel 3 and panel 1, although panel 3, I think, Beef, you're trying to do an upshot, right? So you're trying to do an upshot to give it a little bit more dramatic flair. However, because again, you got the perspective of the skylight behind him. But you have to be careful because ultimately what you did end up drawing, it wasn't too much of an upshot, and the two figures, figure 1 and figure 2, in the foreground is Dr. Doom, and they're virtually about the same size. And so what happens is that really negates this either impactful last shot or this impactful first shot. And the question I would ask Beef is, in your intent, which one of these images, the first or the last panel, did you really want to pop? You know, if you had what we would call a money shot, which of these images would you want the reader to really go wow over? based off of the size, yeah, it's the first one. And if that's the case, then I would, for this third panel, probably make him a little bit smaller, or choose the angle that's a down shot, right? So that we're looking down at Doom holding the golden porg, not looking up. When you look up at something, it gives it greater importance. And so if that's the case, even though this is again the first panel being the most impactful, the last panel changing the size, decreasing the size of the figure, and maybe a little bit of the surrounding. And if you want, here's another one where if it's a down shot, let's see if you guys can see what I'm doing here.
Now, also, it seems like in the last panel there, Beef's trying to indicate that Batgirl's up on the roof.
Yes, he has that indication. And
yeah, so I see where you're going with this.
So what I'm doing is, if you're going to do that and we're going to go with the down shot, how do we do, you see it, Tommy, you see what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, basically, we're either going to be outside the skylight, looking past Batgirl, looking down into the skylight at the action.
Yeah.
So looks like Bernard's drawing it with, we're seeing the skylight and we see her cape coming into the foreground.
Yeah.
Is that right, Bernard?
Yes. You got it.
Yes. So she's looking down, we see a hint of the cape, and we know it's, one of the Bat family.
Yeah, someone. We don't know which one. It could be Robin, it could be
Yeah.
Batman, but it's...
And they're being watched, and I really like that idea of them being watched.
Right.
Is a cool shot.
And
yeah.
they're...
And it changes it up completely.
They're much smaller. It's a down shot, and we also get to see from panel 2. Panel 2 is we see two hands, right? Let's say A and B, right? Here we get to reaffirm A and B, who they are, who handed off the golden porg, right? So a lot of times it's reaffirmation. You're in a relationship, you want to reaffirm particular things. You want to reaffirm in the story different components, so that later on when you get into maybe a little bit more chaotic, because the fight scene's coming up the next 2 pages, and it's going to you're going to be a little bit more selective in what you're drawing. All the pieces are there for the reader to fully understand everything that's going on.
Another option would be if you did the looking down, bird's eye view, looking. Would you call it a down shot?
Down shot, bird's eye view, yeah.
Yeah, looking down on them, and if you didn't want to leave the room, you could have a cast shadow on the floor from light coming through this.
That is true. That's So this one might be a little bit more of a departure, because we're taking the reader outside of the bank, where everything else before has been inside the bank. But what Tommy just said, okay, we're going to do that. Here are the two. This is, I guess, Dr. Doom, and this Doombot, right? And then you could do how they do the shadow on the ground.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how the cape would come in, but somehow you would see.
Or even just you could show the upper body with the ears, and you still wouldn't even know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So so like the head with the 2 ears.
Yeah.
And then this could be a highly silhouetted.
Yeah. Pretty fun.
And again, in this.
Oh yeah. There's the same. So it's the same idea, just 2 different ways of.
Yeah. 2 different ways of using the same idea. Now again, I haven't sketched out the panel shape yet, right? And in essence, it's key because this could be a horizontal, right? It could be a horizontal. It could be it could be a vertical, panel. It could also be a horizontal panel, right? So it's important to draw the scene out first before you lock yourself into a panel shape. Okay, let's see. Let's move on. It's a good first step. Beef. All right, crispy. Crispy's next. Crispy went a little past the layout stage. Time flies when you're having fun. It is true. This is, and again, for this exercise, for everybody, keep in mind, you have to really watch yourself at times because you can really get carried away with the drawing. And what I would encourage you, we all have limited hours in the day, right? We got jobs, things, other stuff we gotta do, and so you really have to be judicious with your time. And for this exercise, to really take advantage of this, is to explore different camera angles, to explore different perspectives, and to really think how you want to set up the story and how you want to tell the story. And to separate that from the fun of drawing. It's going to be a miserable class, really. But if you only have an hour a night to work on something like this, I would rather you spend the majority of the hour coming up with as many different camera angles as you can, as many different shots, as opposed to coming up with 1 or 2 shots, which might take you 10-15 minutes, and then spending 45 minutes rendering it out because it's so fun to draw something that looks finished. There'll be plenty of time to do that later on, because, I mean, Tommy, for me, the most fun part is the layouts.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And if you have a great layout, then when you're drawing it, you don't have to worry about tangents, you don't have to worry about storytelling. You can really just focus about rendering and technical application of skill. When you have a weak layout and you're really relying upon the rendering, it can be very arduous. So, and again, for the sake of what we're doing here, we're really focusing on storytelling. Not so much about the drawing technique, the technical aspect of drawing.
Bernard, I have a question,
Yes, Courtney.
if I may ask. So when you get the script, do you kind of do like rough draft, like very, very rough, and then kind of send it in and be like, does this look good? Is that kind of what you would do? Either you or Tommy? Be like, this is what I'm thinking. It wouldn't be like super drawn out, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, it would be very loose.
Yeah, but I wouldn't send that to the. Depends on the job. I wouldn't send that to the editor at the comic book company, at the publisher. You know, I would if you're getting paid to do pencils, usually they just want you to hand in pencils. You know, I mean, that's what I have experienced. I don't think I've. But then lots of times, if it's a cover or something like that, they may want to see like even 3 rough ideas, you know. Mm-hmm. So, but but see the way like Bernard and I both pencil and ink our stuff, and we've also been doing this a long time. So lots of times we have a certain level of trust that we get from.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm trying to think of, like. The stuff that Bernard's showing right now is like,
yeah,
like it's awesome. Yeah, it's so kind of yeah, that's enough for the editor to see before you go to finish, you know.
But I mean that what he's showing is very similar to what this exercise is too. Would you say?
Yeah, for sure.
Except for, of course, more dynamic.
Right. Yeah. like this step, what I'm showing now. So these are layouts. I can't show any of the newer stuff. This is from the DC Festival of Heroes, Monkey Prince. So these are the layouts that I actually, well, I out of courtesy, I would send it in, just so the editor can keep track of where the book is at for scheduling, but also to the writer as a courtesy, so that they can see what I'm doing with the script. Some of it is changed. Sometimes I change a little bit of what they've written, and more of in terms of sequencing, pacing, tempo. I might move some things up from one page to the other. But I'm showing here also the blue is the dialogue, the word balloons, and the caption boxes. And I'm showing that none of that has changed. I'm just maybe rearranging a little bit.
From here, Bernard, what's the next thing you send?
From here, after this, I send in the inks. So it goes from this
Right, exactly.
to finished.
Yeah.
Again, this is
So these are basically your pencils.
These are basically my pencils, yeah. So from that, I send in. Let me show you guys the next stage.
I think that's what I assumed, and I just wanted to kind of make sure, because I just remember seeing so many rough pencils, and I thought that was kind of part of the process.
Yeah, and it seems to be so different from, like, you know, like if Bernard was having to just pencil something that's going to be handed off to an inker, you know, that's going to be different from, because this is like, why go any tighter if he's going to be inking it himself? Because, you know, he does so much of the work in the ink stage, obviously.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's.
Thank you.
So
sorry to interrupt.
It's okay. So again, yeah. So the ink. So basically it goes from the red to the black, right? I need to find. Okay. But going back to this layout stage. Prior to this, some of these are backwards or flipped because I flip them when I'm drawing. I'll also have sketched out in the script, in the margin of the script. I'll do little drawings. I will sit on a script for a few days after I've read it to kind of brew and stew. See if there are images that particularly pop out in my head that I want to use, and kind of almost base sequences or pages around. And I'll do what I'm doing here in the blue, where I'm sketching out little things here and there, and then I'll compose it into this pink version, which is the layout that I'll send in and I'll submit. Now, even from this, the layout that I'll submit changes when I go into actual penciling on the board and inking. It gives me an additional layer of levels of editing, self-editing, that I can then readjust images, shots, to better enhance the storytelling. So, and things do change quite often. Let's say this page itself. Let me see if I have this one inked. This is page 7. No, I don't have that one up. Wait, yes, here, page 8. Okay. So page 8, if you guys see this page 8, first panel, I'm thinking like Monkey Prince as recovering from falling down or being in a blast. Then we go into a 3-shot of him transforming back into human form, and then almost ending with a heroic shot of him recovering. And then the final version moving to no, that's not it. Yeah, I'm just trying not to show. It's like I have stuff up here that's like I can't be showing. MPO8.
Show us, Bernard. You can share.
See what you're doing. You're getting me off track here.
I'm sorry, but
Courtney.
I mean, it's. I think it helps me as
So,
like a basic person, kind of understand
from this,
why this is so important.
so from this you can see that the initial layout I had the shot at his foot from the reverse angle, and here the finished version we're behind Seafood Pigsy, and he's falling towards us, and he's kind of bouncing, and then the last shot is a little bit more wide so that we get a little bit more of a full body to see him in a more heroic kind of pose. Anyways, back to Crispy's. So Crispy, we started out without prompting. Crispy already chose the Cyclops version of the Doombot. Good for you. Crispy gets a no prize. Let's see. Well, Crispy is a little bit advanced. So we got a couple of Doombots holding up. I guess that's a manager or some civilians. Crispy, what is the archway? Is that the entrance to the bank, or is that the vault? And
Looks like the entrance to the vault, and then I see like safe deposit box lining the walls back in the background.
okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was that or if that was windows.
Yeah, it's the vault.
Okay, so it's the vault, and then where's Doctor Doom in this shot? There's no hint of Doctor Doom in the first panel.
Is this a page? Is this like a two panel page?
Is it? Yeah, I'm assuming it's a 2-panel page. The bottom panel is the reveal of Doom holding the golden porg. He's off panel, and that was the intention. Okay. Well, we have like one of the Doombots kind of looking over his shoulder, I guess, alluding to that.
I think you need more panels,
Maybe a little bit more panels.
a little more story.
Sean, welcome to the stream. We have Sean Chen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would help to have Doom in that first establishing shot, so you're kind of showing the lay of the land, but Doom kind of appears in the second panel only.
Or
So I think that's the problem we have.
Yeah, right now Doom could be on the other side of town. It could be the next day. It could be.
yeah.
He could be telling the story about. Yeah, I remember that day when I got this porg back at the bank. So we need to see him now with everybody else. So if there's a way to work him in there, either coming out of the vault in the background, maybe they're opening one of the things.
Here's what I would say is this is a, without changing anything, if we were to just use what Crispy has, we could use a shadow in the foreground, right? So this shadow is Doom. So if we kept all the elements the same from before, that there is this,
I like that.
or
That's cool.
or
It's like another level of story.
Yeah, or in the
Using
foreground.
the shadow.
It's tough because that first establishing shot is showing a lot of stuff. There's a lot of information, and I can see why you might want to leave it out because it's already very tricky. And then you got to add another element in there, which is Doom. And then you also have to do it in a way that's not diagrammatic. So you got to find an interesting way, like a bit of a cape or a shadow, just to make it visually interesting. In addition to all that stuff that's in there. So, but this is what it is to be a comic book artist. You got to figure this out. Try to get all that information across.
Yeah, something that Sean just said is like to make it visually interesting, and sometimes, the back of a guy's cape and legs and stuff isn't probably the most interesting thing. You know, the very first thing that we're looking at on panel one is behind that dude picking up that other dude. And yeah, I feel like that's another space where instead of using that real estate on that panel, doing that amount of space, showing something that's not really that important. The guy's cape and his body and everything, it isn't really that important. It's a cool drawing, but maybe in that space, we could have used it a little better. So you just got to think about how you're utilizing the space. I really like to draw this cape and this guy's legs and stuff, but at the same time, is that important to the shot right now? So you got to think about that.
One other note I would probably, and again, this is all layouts, right? So again, we're very rough with this. I would push another maybe bigger foreground element, although he has the Doombot here, on the left, right, as kind of in the foreground. I would push maybe even more like debris. Right, so as if they had actually busted through the exterior of the bank from the street, a hole from the street into the bank, and we're kind of peering through that, right? And also just to show a little bit more rubble or damage or battle damage, right? If you guys have been watching the stream, you'll know I really am a big fan of battle damage in any kind of drawing. Smoke or debris, just showcasing that there was a little bit of a fight that happened. I mean, or they kind of blasted their way in, which shows a little bit more force and danger. Although, he does have the element here where the Doombot is about to blast one of the civilians with a hat. I do like the last shot in a sense where Doom's face is in heavy shadows. It is dramatic. There is a nice shift in the size. The other thing I would probably do is work on the perspective of the characters, and this is again a slightly more difficult aspect, in that if we were to do make sure I'm in panel. There are different ways of again, storytelling. You're not just an artist. You're the director, the actor, the cinematographer. I always like to offset the perspective a little bit. I don't like to do everything as a one point straight in the middle. And by offsetting it, it's almost like a Dutch angle. Dutch angle where you're tilting something off to the side. But you're doing that with the perspective. And in that sense, it creates a sense of imbalance, therefore causing anxiety and tension in the scene.
Also, you inherently are drawing stuff, it more, you're changing up the sizes of things, the way that you're instinctively, to create more space. It's the, Bernard's pushing the space a lot. We're pulling the one guy closer to us, pushing them back. And it's immediately the whole room seems more of a space.
So I think what it does is it puts the viewer right in the scene, which is a more dramatic place to be. So imagine if this was like a boxing match, you can be back in the 5th or 10th row, and that's what you get. Like you're like a spectator. But then with this angle, you're basically at the Doombot's feet looking up as if you were one of the guys that he just kind of partially killed. And so you're like right in there and it's much more dramatic. And then with that crazy angle, you gotta still try to get all that information in there. The diagrammatic one that you chose is very efficient in that you can show everything fairly easily. But then to make it just one step more interesting, is that worm's eye view that puts the viewer right in the scene. And then, like you said, put some extreme foreground stuff. So I guess an ideal panel would, in terms of depth of field, would have something that you can, if you were the viewer, you can reach out and grab with your hand. It's like that close. The way you did that top panel, like that guy, that Doombot's ass is about like 10 feet away. So you can put something even closer, like rubble, and then that'll make the space more dynamic and also tells a bit of the story, like they broke into the bank and there's stuff lying around. So those are just ways that you can kind of instantly improve a panel like this.
Yeah.
Isn't that called layering, BC?
Well, layering, pushing stuff. But this is more of like, well, there's a couple things here, right? Yes, I'm pushing this guy on the left a little bit closer to us, right? I also have I was thinking, well, what if it's just one hand? What if the Doombot is just only holding him with one hand, right? How much, again, a little bit more layering of drama and tension. We get to see, you have him struggling on the left-hand side, the bank security guy, I guess. Here I drew in his leg. So again, this foot, maybe this suit, the top layer is suit, and then one of his arms, I don't know if we have it there, but one of the security guy's arms is holding on, and maybe both of them, is holding on to the Doombot's arm, because he's like really being choked. So if he's being choked and he's holding on, like, really just building the tension. You have it in the face that you drew on the security guard, which is cool. I'm just adding a little bit more secondary acting elements. I'm pushing some of these characters a little bit further back. So again, the differentiation in size between Doombot A and Doombot B. In your version, they're very similar in size almost. The head is almost similar. I would say it was only like maybe a 10-15% decrease in size. And what I would say is maybe make it a little bit more dramatic difference, right? So maybe 40% size differentiation. And then you get the guys even further in the back, again, creating a little bit more depth. The other thing with the dramatic, kind of a off-tilt perspective, and if you're drawing the ceiling panels or the lights, right? All of these lines, they point they're leading your eye in a particular direction, and it's beginning to move slightly, what you're looking at. And I think that kind of draws a little bit more. It's almost like as if you're panning from left to right. And then if you go from this to what you have in the second panel, it's almost like as if you're turning around and then you see Doom behind you, or you're Doom. Guys, anything else? Crispy?
Well, I think what you did there with redrawing the Doombot choking the guy is you took away the symmetry of that action. The symmetry can be very stabilizing and kind of boring. So with one hand and then you tilt it and everything and seen from below, that symmetry is gone, and you can kind of see in your composition how you jump from foreground to middle ground to background, and then it's forcing your eye into the background with the perspective. So you can jump from person A to person B to the business end of the panel, which is whatever that guy's doing in the vault.
But then it swings you right back around down to the bottom, which is nice, partly because of the way that Crispy already had that arch there, and then the angle of the Doombot, and kind of creating that angle from right going down towards the left, with his arm. but then Bernard's accentuated that even more now with adding that rubble in the foreground that also creates that kind of line right down into the next panel.
Here's another version going back, kind of going off of what Crispy had done originally. Moving from this version that I'd done earlier, I'm turning the initial Doombot on the left-hand side of panel 1 slightly more. I'm using his left arm to hold up the security guard. Right, so now we're seeing a little bit more of his front, but it's a little bit of a twist. We can still get a little bit more of that angle, and then the right hand is holding or about to hand the golden porg off, and then the next panel, Doom's holding it.
Yeah.
Right. So this is almost as if we were to look at this, the security guard had the golden porg in his hand, or was trying to wrestle it away from the Doombot. The Doombot ultimately had it, and now it's going to hand it to Doom in the next panel. And again, his body is twisting. The Doombot's body is slightly twisting and turning.
What I like about that is it plays into what I was talking about of the use of that space. Where instead of just an empty cape, we've got something else we can show there. And use that space for more storytelling, especially if it's let's say the Doombots had a specific kind of design where we wouldn't know they were Doombots unless we saw their chest. Like Walter Simonson he's always really big on this stuff. That was something that when JP had him at SVA as a teacher, Walter would always say, you gotta show like Superman's shield on his chest.
Yeah.
You gotta see that. So if Superman imagine that Superman in the top panel holding the guy up. This is the perfect solution to that. To show like, okay, yeah, there he is. I mean, that's not a right or wrong way to do that. That's just something to consider.
That's a good point. Yeah. So again, instead of having the back mainly seeing the cape, right? Which is just one solid. He doesn't even have a D in the back, right? It's not even a double D for Dr. Doom.
It's a mini cape too.
It's just a mini cape, right? And
Yeah,
it's
no mini
really
cape.
kind of you see his butt, right? It's a nice ass shot. Maybe twisting and turning a little bit. It's also probably a little bit more fun to draw. But
It's
also
harder to draw too.
It's a little harder to draw, yeah. But
I mean, the guy's doing double duty. He's choking someone and handing off. So this is what comics are all about. Is that you got to, with the limited real estate in a comic book, everyone's got to be doing two things. So that guy is doing two things. And if it's drawn well, it doesn't look like an awkward game of Twister. It'll look very natural, and you can instantly see what's going on without trying to figure it out. So you can actually move the story along. And the better you are, you can do this page in two panels if you're really good, and this is a good way to do it. So fewer panels if you can actually are good enough to draw a human figure contorting and doing two things at once without having it look weird.
Yeah, and actually now that I'm looking at it, I might even flip the entire panel so that this guy that's holding the security guard is on the right side of the panel.
You see what Bernard's doing here is like none of this is precious at this point, so everything is very and that's kind of what Bernard was saying about not going too tight. Like I love the way that Crispy drew those legs on that dude on the right,
with the lines.
Yeah, it's really cool, like the contours and then the details in the legs, but all that stuff is like, but it's become precious now, where it's hard to crash that, because that's totally what you need to be willing to do, is to go at this stage, the super rough layout stages, none of it. You don't want any of it to be too precious.
That's exactly what the point I'm trying to get to is that right now, again, based on just a limited amount of time that we all have, you want to be able to utilize as much as you can, and focus. So, these are just drawings. I'm just sketching. First we started with this. Well, we started with Crispy's first. Then we moved to this. Just changed it slightly. Then from this, I'm like, oh, I could do this. This would be a little bit better than this, right? And then twisting the body, showing the body, I'm like, okay, well, what if I had him on the right side of the panel? Because again, we're reading left to right, up and down. So that's the last thing we see, right? That's the last thing we see. And then the last thing we see is him handing the golden pork. And the next panel is Doom holding the golden pork.
Okay, so that's why you flipped it to the other side,
Right,
is
that's
so
why I
that
flipped it,
for
yeah.
storytelling reasons, you can take in the entire scene and then notice that he's handing off the pork.
Right.
Because it's on the right side of the page, it's the last thing you see.
Yes.
And then it goes to the next panel where he receives the pork. So all that's happening in an establishing shot, which is usually a picture of the bank. But see how much story we told already. And like I said, the golden rule here is that in comics, get into the scene as late as possible and then leave as early as possible because there's not much time to tell a story. So with this establishing shot, it's just not a picture of the exterior of the bank. It's already, we hitting the ground with a lot of information and the story's already off to a start.
And then that last panel, Crispy, I would even go closer in, so that his face is is almost
You
the
know, you
entire.
might want to like have Doom's hand reaching in on that first panel, even.
You can, you could even in here
Extreme foreground, yeah.
in extreme foreground.
reaching.
If you
I
want.
think that would be a very Kirby kind of thing. It's just like his foreground, or just like his forearm in, hand reaching in just in silhouette, from panel right, whatever.
Yeah, and again, I think everything that we're saying too, it's not exactly rocket science. It's just additional layering of storytelling, of thinking, of like Crispy. I'm sure you would be very capable of doing most of these things that we mentioned right now. It's just at some point you. And I did this when I'm younger. I do this. I'm still guilty of this at some points. I have to catch myself. At certain points, when you're doing layouts or, telling a story, you get caught up into the drawing and caught up into little details of drawing. And then half an hour goes by. You're like, shit, it's such a nice drawing. You don't want to erase it anymore. You want to commit to it. And again, at this stage, even for
And also,
go ahead, Tommy.
I was going to say also at this stage, we're really only looking at this part of it, so, we're not really looking at, drawing or rendering or, anatomy or whatever. This is all about storytelling.
Yeah.
And I did a job 20 some years ago where I storyboarded a movie for DreamWorks, and I was so into it was for Sinbad, the animated Sinbad movie, and I was so eager to impress that I was just doing storyboards, but I was going overboard on every panel. Like, I'm gonna like draw this and add some charcoal here, and doesn't know put some white paint in here with this fog, and they were cool drawings, but I could have done about 10 times the amount of work. And actually just done the job of storyboarding and telling it, because it wasn't really, my job wasn't to come up with really pretty drawings at that stage. It was to do storyboards, and it was just storytelling. And I was just, so sometimes when somebody's going to look at it, somebody's going to see it, you kind of go overboard, because you want to impress the people that are going to see it. So, but at this point, this is really just for you. We're just here to look at it and help you, but nobody's really like, at this point, this is just for you to figure it out, and then like we would always send this stuff to each other, me and Bernard and Sean and JP, and push each other the same way that we're doing right now.
Exactly. I think, we're all echoing. The more amount of time you can spend on the storytelling. Again, look, we do this professionally. We've been doing this, and even for me, and the more I draw it, the more ideas I come up with, and then I think ultimately the third time, fourth time, we had something I think would be pretty good, right?
Yeah, I see you were a crispy egg roll. He said it's guilty of going a little further, knowing it was going to be critiqued on stream. So yeah, I mean,
We all do that.
yeah, we all, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that like the producer of the movie was going to be putting my boards up and looking at them, and I'm, so, I had to, after a while I chilled out, and then I was like, okay, cool. Right now we're just worrying about camera angles, composition, storytelling. Doesn't matter right now how it's lit, how, the anatomy doesn't have to be perfect. It's just, just bare bones right now.
Wow, look at James quotes.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to James Quo. James Quo, you here? James Quo's next
Man,
on the
that's
board.
very professional.
James Quo,
Wow.
5 panels, 6 panels.
6 panel, yeah.
Um,
A lot of Batgirl.
we start out with Batgirl.
I chose back.
So he did the outside above on the skylight, looking over the skylight down into the bank.
Dramatic.
We see she takes off. She's looking through her bat binoculars, and then she's smiling, so she is giving off an aura of confidence, I'm assuming. We also see kind of the background of Gotham. Are those like blimps? Third panel.
Hey Bernard, are we missing a tiny bit on the far right of
Oh
James?
yeah, let me see.
drawing?
Okay, all right.
I just don't want to. I want to be sure we're seeing all of the.
Okay. Sorry, let me readjust.
It's all in panoramic panels.
There.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, there was a trend a while back where people I think
Very
even
cool.
like Jim Chung told an entire comic book in panoramic panels. It's it's very cinematic. Jim.
Jim,
I don't know.
are you
There
a
was a
British
while where people
friend?
were doing it a lot.
Wasn't that like a Brian Hitch type of thing with when he was on
Yeah,
a,
yeah.
did a lot of
I think
It's
that
very cinematic.
yeah, that came about like once the Marvel movies started hitting and becoming very popular. I think there was a heavy influence of trying to be as cinematic as possible.
Weird.
Also, just the 16:9 ratio, right? So widescreen. It's still prevalent these days. It used to be, I think when we first started, 6 panels a page. Now it's 5, and 5 horizontal cinematic panels is kind of the standard. But these are
For
very
me, I watched too many Sergio Leone movies. Did it to me.
and
But
it's
you
really
lose the
beautiful to
vertical
read,
though.
right? I mean, your eye flows left to right very smoothly.
So the thing is, if you lose the vertical panels, the idea is that vertical panels move very fast, and then panoramic panels move very
Yes.
slow. So if you lose all the verticals, you're basically cutting off one of your legs. I think anyway. So it's a good thing to do for effect. I mean, when it was a trend, I really loved it. But I think you are just like not using one of the tools in your tool chest.
Well,
I have pages that end up being all horizontal like this, but that's just by chance. I think just because that's what ended up working out best for the storytelling.
And
so
it's good for variety, in
Yeah.
a whole book for variety's sake. An entire page, your entire couple pages of all horizontals, it's a kind of a good, it's like a feast for your eyes.
yeah, I mean, I've drawn books. I'm drawing books right now that I'll have a 4 or 5 page sequence where it's all horizontal, and then when the scene changes, those scenes are vertical, and then when it goes back to the first scene, they're back to horizontal, and I like to use it sometimes as a scene change mechanism, so the reader knows or feels that they're in one place, and then they're in another place, and then they're back into the first place. But also as a rhythmic long notes versus staccato short notes.
Right.
But this is only one page, so who knows? Maybe the other pages will be a combination. So I think, he does add that there's a little small panel on the fourth tier.
Yeah, little inset.
Right, so little small inset panels. The only concern I have, well, one of the main concerns I would have is that although I do like to say you don't want to rely upon the word balloons, there are going to possibly be word balloons in this story, and as such, some of the details are very small and might be covered by word balloons that would then might negate some of the visual storytelling components, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But it is nice to look at. I do like this. Even at the last one is the upshot, right? The first panel and the last panel, the top and the bottom are opposites, right? The top panel is you're looking down, bird's eye looking down. Last panel is worm's eye from bottom looking up. So it's a
That's
nice
cool.
cap, right? It's a nice bookend to this page.
The only thing I could imagine for making the bottom panel a little better is to show a little bit more rubble, or the entrance of the vault, because he's supposed to have
Blasted it all.
Oh, so
blasted.
yeah, we don't see him go
Yeah.
into the vault.
Did he?
Yeah, so I'm wondering, why did he blast the vault if the porg is sitting there anyway? So
Right.
I don't. So I feel like maybe could be a little bit of a hint of the just the arc of the damaged door jamb, something where it's bent apart, something like that on the top right of that panel, just even a hint of it, something just to show
That's
that
an
there
easy
he's
easy
stuck
fix.
inside.
Yeah. So that if we were to just do.
That's the only thing. Yeah, that's the only thing I could really think of to kind of take it to the next level. I think it didn't need to be this tight, this finished, obviously, but I love these drawings, man. This shit's really good. I really like it. Really nice work.
This is a very Indiana Jones moment at the end for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Where's his bag of sand?
I'm assuming that those panel borders, except for the small inset one, they're all strictly horizontal, right? So I think one thing that I find that's really amateurish is when people are trying to draw horizontal panels, but they don't measure and it's slightly off. That's not great. And then if you want to make these Dutch angles, either really tilt it or make it straight, but none of this kind of like 10 degrees tilt. I never do a 10-degree tilted panel because that just looks like you lost your ruler, and that's what it looks like to the editor, and it looks like to the viewer. So for those tilted panels, get to be like 30 or 40 degrees tilt, and these are slightly off, but I think you intended for them to be strictly horizontal.
Oh, you can see that they're off.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just the parallax.
I
of
can see the
camera.
fourth one. Yeah, the fourth one is a little off. The bottom of the fourth panel, fourth and fifth
Yeah,
panel
and
is a little off.
That's another thing. When people do their finished pages, they show editors. I see a lot of times panel borders that are kind of wonky, like they're not parallel borders, like they kind of taper. Drawing a comic book page, you're facing a lot of extremely difficult things, like there's anatomy and perspective that takes forever to master. The one thing you can get straight by the time you're in third grade is to draw parallel, straight up and down panel borders that are all uniform in thickness. That's the easiest thing to do. So when you don't do that, it's an unforced error.
That's a very, very good point. And again, goes back to what we mentioned earlier about red flags, right? Eliminating as many red flags as you can, so that the editor can really give the proper time to your work, right? So editors and professional artists such as Sean and Tommy, we're all very familiar with finding hints of amateurism, or I don't know if there's another way of saying it, right? Things that we probably, I know I did some of these things when I was younger. And you want to eliminate as many hints of amateurism as you can, so that your work shows as much of it as being ready to go as possible. So just by a slight degree of paneling, panel borders, gutters, shapes. But again, this is just layouts, so
Yeah, these are layouts.
we
So it's,
shouldn't, we're not going to harp too much. Again, we'll bring these things up, but yeah. So this here, Tommy mentioned about showing a little bit of the debris from the blast.
Yeah, and he stepped into the
And he
vault
stepped into the
now.
vault.
And what also Bernard's added that a little hint of that the porg is coming out of something. It was in a container. Something. It was in a safe deposit box. Something that shows it was locked up in there. Maybe it's in a glass case in there. Somehow it's locked away in there. So, I mean, in a way, the way this story is told, it could be in like some sort of, maybe it's just a glass container that's busted now. Maybe he's taking the lid off of the glass container here. It could be like, whatever, because at this point, it's like maybe that vault is only for this porg.
Yeah.
So for this exercise, you have the freedom to be able to do that.
What I would also, another couple of things here, in terms of small details. The two hands are different sizes. One's more in the foreground than the other, right? So one's more in the foreground than you see the other hand. So that they're not equal size. That way, again, it's almost like you're reaching it. Now, if you want it to be still a little bit more forced perspective, but another secondary point is that the background, I guess that's a bot in the background that you've drawn on the lower left-hand corner. They're all facing the same way how you've drawn it. I like to switch positions. One is facing front, one is facing the other way, just to create a little bit more dynamic posing, even though they're just standing there.
Can I say something about that first panel? I'm looking at all of these panels, and they are packed from corner to corner with little things, and that's like a lot of visual noise, which is a lot of times necessary. But for that first panel, especially, there is a way to you can solve two problems. You might have that first panel, like a lot of times have dialogue or a caption or a location caption box.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no room for it, but if you were to slide that, you see how the black ceiling, the black rooftop, you can see a little bit of it. You can actually slide that whole image off to one side or the other and just have a lot of black ceiling there, and that kind of gives you a little pool of quiet, so that it's not so visually packed from corner to corner, and then that's a good place to put the word balloon.
Yeah.
Especially in a panoramic panel like this. The really long panels, either tall or horizontal, usually put something off to the side and have a lot of empty space.
Yeah. So what? That's a great point, Sean. So the key of to make a horizontal panel work is to really take advantage of the horizontalness. And you do it there, but also, who is a good cinematographer that kind of really has these wide angle shots, but the character's always like on one side, so that you're moving, your eye has to move, right? And so I think what Sean's saying is you can probably slide it over a little bit, so that now you have this negative space behind Batgirl that they'll be able to throw in nighttime Gotham City Central Bank or something like that. right. Um,
And they always got to ruin it with words.
right.
Yes.
So, but this is a good. And again, I would just be cautious about the size of the heads. The 2 times you see Batgirl's face is the same size. I would, if you wanted to keep the first one, to show her. The second one.
I would have.
Hmm?
Yeah, I definitely would have made the second panel a little wider. I'd pull away from her a little bit.
Yeah, it's too small, or just, I think, or just to show an extreme
eye.
close-up of the eye.
Right.
You know what's strange is you can. I think there was an option to tell this story where the first time you see Batgirl is when she's crashing through the glass.
Yes.
So you can see how many ways you can tell the story. I mean, Batgirl's all over this first page.
Yeah.
And she hasn't even entered yet. So it just shows you how many ways you can tell a story.
Yeah, to me, this page is just as much about her as it is Doom. I mean, I'm imagining her up on the top, thinking about, boy, I hope I, can take care of this shit real fast. I can go, get dinner with Dick or whatever.
Wow. Okay.
Wow, 2 activities.
And
no, it's Grayson, right?
right.
Yes.
James, did Dr. Doom kill all the bank security people?
Yeah, I can see their skeleton.
Is that what happened? Like he burned them up?
Awesome.
A little dark. Huh? A little dark. All right. Okay, let's see.
Very
Next
cool,
one.
though. Very bold angles, though.
Okay, we got Simple Man. This is first couple of attempts. Simple Man's done a bunch.
Yeah, he was hard. And he did Battle of the Sketches, too.
Yeah,
so.
and he did Battle of the Sketches.
This guy does, he's the type of kid that does every bit of homework and then his friend's homework, too.
See, this is one of the first ones, very classic Dr. Doom pose. He is able to get all the elements in one single image.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do, but it's all there.
Simple Man is also trying to push the perspective a little bit, almost like a slightly fishbowl or fisheye, a little
Fisheye.
force perspective looking up here in this one of the Gotham Bank. The second one here inside the vault. Here he did a square vault door, which is great. You can also see the rivets on the side for the security, so we really get to see the thickness of the volume of the wall. There's a clock in the background, so we know that it's 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. During the day. Oh, that's Golf Boy. Sorry. That's Golf Boy. So Golf Boy. Okay, so this is Golf Boy. Golf Boy still here? All right, so Golf Boy. So Golf Boy, this is Golf Boys with the force perspective. This is a very classic Dr. Doom pose. Some nice elements in the bank. Interesting. We can see the bat signal already in the skylight. There is a girl or lady in the foreground. Looks like a dead body here by the entrance of the vault. The Doombot in the background is grabbing the golden porg. And another one is terrorizing 2, I guess, customers. Sean, Tommy.
Well, I think the first thing I noticed is it's tough to see a ceiling and a floor kind of at the same time. So this is clearly an upshot.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you would see a little less floor. I mean, you can cheat it, so this is cheated pretty well, but I guess I wouldn't have the balls to try it. I can see the bat signal up there, which is some more extra storytelling.
Oh wow! I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the body in the foreground, maybe if you can get it to be, well, if you make it larger, then you might be tempted to look at it rather than Doctor Doom. But if you can make it larger, but also if you turn the face away, or just show an unimportant part of that body, you can get to be larger without having it take over the center stage.
Yeah, probably the angle. It's
Or you could do like James and just draw a skull in the foreground.
the Doom's
If
already
you're
killed
a
the
sicko,
person.
Yeah, if you're like
smoke
Steve,
coming out of the eyes.
I wonder what James is rest. Everybody's just gonna die at the end, right? He's gonna blast.
well, the hostages are all dead by the time
Right.
so.
Well, then Batgirl really didn't do her job. I mean, she should have. Why is she? What is she waiting on the skylight for? Like,
She's too concerned with going to get dinner with her boyfriend.
6 people just died. She's like She's on Yelp looking for a restaurant.
I like the idea of this being an upshot like this because it makes Doom seem very powerful, and so I think what Bernard's doing now is he's going to accentuate that, and I think that by seeing, like Sean said, less floor, it's a tough shot to do. It's a tough drawing, a tough perspective to pull off. So,
Yeah, seeing more floor allows you to get more information on there. So when you choose to look at the ceiling, then the floor gets kind of compressed. So the head in the front there might cover all that information that you had at the floor. So you got an important decision to make, how you show everything, but still choose a dramatic angle. Yeah, because I think the vault is almost covered by the person's head. So
the vault is
got like a bit of an issue there.
Kind of covered almost.
Well, what you could do there is you have Doom's cape blowing up off towards camera right. You've got the hostages and them being tortured or whatever tortured. Behind Doom and between his legs.
There
like Bernard's pushing in there now. So you really use
cool.
for what's important. And then you've got or if you don't want Doom's cape covering stuff on the right, it would go off to the left, and then you've got then you can show the details of the bank.
We're looking up Doom's skirt.
I love the idea of the bat symbol outside. That's really cool.
It seems like so much of being a comic book artist is trying to show the hero shot or the villain from the front, even though he's looking at the same background you're looking at. So we should technically be looking at his back, but we have to see his front. So when you do a cover, like, how do you show someone's, from the back, but really from the front?
I always know that they're going to come back with that. The editor always would say, "Oh yeah, we can't see the back of a character." But sometimes,
so what are you, a magician? No, you can't do everything.
Sometimes it's cooler that way. Sometimes, I did a cover where the main character is, facing off with a big monster, and so he was, he was more small and closer to the camera than the monster, and he was facing the monster that was, more of the focal point of the piece, So,
right, and then some 25-year-old editor says but we're looking at the hero's back. It's like, okay.
Yep. That's why that book I did at Image.
Okay, so we're probably going to have to crop this somewhere here. Right. So we're not going to see... I don't think we need to see this person's hands, right, on the bottom. And to get more room, I blasted this person's ear off. So, in the vein of James Quo,
you could blast off
half
more
of
his
this
head.
person's ear is blasted off, so we can see more of the vault, right?
problem solving. It's all about problem solving.
Exactly.
And let's see some battle damage on the vault since it's already open.
Yeah, so some damage. There could be some smoke.
And some of the stuff that you're missing because of this new camera angle that used to be on the floor, you can put like on the balcony level above the vault.
Oh,
Ooh.
that's a good point. So, second point here. What else? I can put. Let me put a Doombot up here, by the flags. And the buildings in the background also have to match the same perspective as inside.
What's a good who's the artist on this one again?
This Golf Boy Sunday.
Is Golf Boy here?
Yeah, he's in chat.
Yeah, I see it. All right. Yeah, I think if you can look up, this is kind of like a 3-point perspective shot. It's kind of not super easy if you don't have a lot of experience in it. So look. You might want to pull off a shot like this, even in layout form. Like Bernard is only able to do it that well by eyeballing it because he's done it so many times. So I would look up some perspective stuff online, or look at some art books that have how Bernard was drawing kind of the vanishing points and finding the horizon line and all those kinds of things. That'll help you a lot.
So you see 3-point perspective here.
This is an upskirt.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
this is, it's a very I applaud Golf Boy for trying to tackle such it's a very difficult perspective you've chosen.
Yeah.
But hey, it's we're all here to learn. So it's because you're trying to get all this information.
You see, there's a vanishing point up top, that we're pointing to. These are good examples here actually, and then there's ones off to each side. So, the main thing you got to figure out, for me, what I usually do is I figure out where's my camera. Is it right on the floor? Is it 4 feet off the floor? Where is it? I mean, you've got it right on the floor, so which is or at least only a few inches off the floor, right at a corpse eye level.
I mean, you have to blast off the ear to show the information behind it.
Well, it could blast off part of the head too if we wanted.
Yeah,
a little bit more of
just
the head. We could
do the shark bite.
Yeah, so if we want to do a true 3-point perspective, the whatever the foreground element, and like when you go online, you do you research all these different perspective points. There is a way to properly do it with a ruler and to measure everything, but I like to eyeball it.
Yeah.
And
Well, it just help you get the idea. Figure out where your horizon is, and you go from there.
And so if we were to do that, and to have basically the Doom would be the main source. Doom would be in all these, Doom would be like this corner building on the left-hand side. This, I guess it looks like a university or something. If you have one central figure that you
That's
can...
3 points.
You can
It's still a 1-point perspective.
It's
I
still
think
1 point.
3-point just means you're looking at the corner rather than the front face. So you're still looking. It's still 1 point, but it's just a fisheye extreme.
Yeah. So this person, there'd be dead people scattered if this is...
Yeah, no, you're doing a fisheye, 4-point perspective.
Yeah, that's it. That's a 4-point. Yeah, fisheye. That's an advanced stuff there.
Yeah, this is...
Yeah.
So...
Bernard's opening a portal to another dimension at this point.
Well, I'm just trying to see how much more battle damage I can throw in. But, that I think this is probably what Golf Boy was initially trying to push towards.
Yeah.
To really get that.
That's like that's one of those, like you said last week, like an Eric Kennedy shot.
Yeah. So
Kim Jong
it's
Gi.
very, it's almost
Yeah.
like a fly. Yeah, it's Kim Jong Gi. Like the fly is like right here on my shoulder. The camera is like right here, and then has the fly eyeball, so it can see all around.
But that's great though. Go big or go home. I mean, I didn't understand this type of perspective, so I would just avoid it, and which is a bad idea because then you just end up having everything look very vanilla. So, just try it, and you may fail, but hell, man, you gotta break away from the missionary position.
Right. Wow. Domo's in the house. Welcome, Domo. Domo Staten, also another professional comic book artist.
Wow, Sean. Wow.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
How do you break away from the missionary?
I had to come back for that.
I think the one thing too here is Golf Boy. The Doom is, you're drawing the Doom in one perspective. The lady in the foreground that's kind of got her ear blown off, that's a little bit more heads-on perspective. And so it's like pasting different things together. I would just encourage, again, these angles, they're going to take a little bit longer. They're a little bit more difficult to kind of draw. What you could do is, I guess in Google SketchUp or, Procreate has like perspective tools.
The grids,
the grids, yeah.
You can find a really dramatic grid and then just realize everything inside that kind of has to follow the grid.
Right, and even like just following the grid, if we were to do, if we were to follow it as a building, but then contain the person inside the building, right, it's going to be a little bit, so you would start out with these basic geometric shapes and then start smoothing them, making them more organic to represent people. That would be the next step. As opposed to, so really just understanding the perspective. But if you can get some of this down, what I also tell Ace too is like, if you can work on perspective drawings, drawing environments, you'll actually see your figure drawing improve at a dramatic rate, because you're really then beginning to push yourself to understand volume, shapes, and form. Okay, how many?
Also, you got to tell people not to worry. Like the lines that you see there, or the lines that you see in like when you look up different perspectives, you see like the 2-point perspective or 3-point perspective. When you're doing your environment drawings, don't worry about that because it's all the information is right in front of you. So just start, like pick a point and just start and use like your eye to compare different like items in a room and stuff to like measure out how big or how small things are. And then like over time your image will start to build itself and then you'll see the perspective in it. I feel like that's like a really cool thing that I always notice when I'm doing environment drawings is like towards the end I'm like, holy, this is crazy. So don't worry about like setting up a grid or anything before you start your environmental drawings. Just kind of start.
Right. Yeah, just try not to get too boggled down in the small details and the fine minutia of the drawing.
There's a poor face close-up in this, isn't there?
Yeah, so Roy Batty's next. Is Roy Batty still here in chat? Thank you, Golf Boy. Roy Batty's here. Okay, Roy Batty is next. So let's see, this is Roy Batty's page. Roy Batty starts off with a shot of a hostage in distress. Then we see Doom kind of standing there. setting up the shot inside the bank. In the foreground is the girl that was in distress in panel 1. We see the, I'm assuming, bank vault in the background, the skylight, and then another couple hostages on the right-hand side. And first, the panel 2. The middle tier is a 3-panel sequence. We are inside the vault. The Doombots are sifting through the different safety deposit boxes. Dr. Doom looks like he's grabbing something, or is it a Doombot grabbing something? A Doombot is grabbing something.
The Doombots, like, I found it.
I found it, right. And
it's like it being handed to Doom, and he's like, yes.
And then the close-up of the porg face.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of odd.
well, it's Roy Batty. What do you expect?
Well, the cool thing is this is not just straightforward storytelling. There's like little vignettes that shows interesting moments that you kind of piece it together.
Mm-hmm.
It's very inventive, you know. I think like the porg face and then the bat symbol on the bottom, and then starting out with a hostage face, so you kind of not just straightforward storytelling. It's actually kind of unfolds in a very interesting way.
That's a good point, Sean. That's a very it's a very interesting approach Roy took in terms of telling the story, where essentially this sequence we're seeing a close-up and then a wide shot, close-up, wide shot again. And, you know, distress, surprise, or happiness, another maybe distress or wonderment, and then a nice down shot with the, this is the use of the bat signal, indicating that something above them is about to crash in, but we're not sure who. Okay, I think my comment in this would be, and this is not anything of fault, because again we haven't discussed this yet, but I also like to group sequences together. So, in a sense, like, okay, we have the hostage situation or the setup. That's one sequence, and you've grouped that in the top tier. The top tier is, so what I would say is like this is the top tier, and then the middle tier is the 3-panel sequence where they're looking for stuff, right? Then the bottom tier, we find out what they've been looking at, and then but something you gotta watch out for. So a surprise is about to happen. My only feeling is that the discovery of the porg, I almost want to group that back in the middle tier, right? So it becomes a 4-panel sequence, because the discovery of the porg, the close-up of the porg, is in direct correlation with the face of Doom discovering the porg, right? And that the bottom panel where the bat signal, that's a completely different beat. It goes from almost happiness and elation from the perspective of Dr. Doom to then all of a sudden, what the fuck, WTF.
That's a good note.
So that way, when you go from, so then in that case, if you do this, this sequence, you group that, contain that one sequence in its own tier, and then you can end with a nice ta-da on the bottom one. I do feel like little, like, you have to be, what would you call these? Inset panels? The top one with the girl holding her head. We want to be a little bit cautious in some of how we lay that out, in a sense, because there is a lot of negative space between the inset panel and where they are on the next panel. There's a lot of cape Tommy would not like all this capes that's happening.
But that's a great place to put an inset panel in the cape.
In the cape, yeah. So I would just be a little bit more. I don't see why it can't be bigger. I don't see why. Also, again, pushing the perspective, the size of the head. If we were to start here, right? The size of the head. If I would just recreate Roy's layout.
Remember when you do inset panels to really try and think of the things that work best in inset panels are big shapes.
Yes. I'm going to go ahead and make this a 4-tier and then this one. I would even, you can make it a 4-tier. Okay, sorry, I'm jumping back and forth, but as I'm sketching it, I'm thinking about different things. You can make these a little bit bigger, the middle one a little bit bigger. And then reduce these size, the top and the bottom. That way, what I would do in the first panel, I'm jumping back and forth. First panel, if I were to have that horizontal, watch that Doom's hand is right next to the panel. I know these are just layouts too, but
Yeah, the bad tangent.
yeah, there's a tangent where Doom's hand is touching right next to the panel. So, what is he doing? Is he pointing or is he holding his? Looks like he's holding his hand at Doom like this.
Shaking his fist kind of thing. It's like the threatening fist.
Okay. Thou shalt bow to Doom.
It's the Darth Vader Gauntlet.
So going off of Tommy's, I would flip her head. You drew her head looking left, right? I would flip it.
Oh yeah.
Just to show
It's just
that,
throwing you right back out of the page that you just entered.
right? Because you want to lead in. And if we were to just do, let's say her mascara is running. I don't know how that would look. I'd have to
Put on mascara.
I'd have to put on mascara. Sean likes to do method comic book storytelling, so Sean would put on mascara, then find a subject that would make him cry, so that it would be authentic tears, right?
While you're drawing that, one time I was watching Jim Lee lay out a page,
Yeah.
and he spent some time trying to avoid the 3 rows layout.
Oh yeah.
And I was wondering, like, wow, that's a thing. And then I kind of got a complex. Like, it's bad to have 3 rows because it's. So I don't know if there's any credibility behind that.
I don't know if it's bad. I mean, look, the 3 rows is from the basic 6 or 9 panels, right?
Yeah, the grid, the 9-panel grid.
6 or 9 panel grid.
And
The 9 panel being the Watchmen grid. The entire Watchmen book was drawn in a 9-panel grid. And then the 6-panel grid is what we grew up with, the Jim Shooter 6-panel grid.
so I guess what Jim is saying, that doing that makes you seem old.
Well, it does, but I think, I mean, you can go like, this could be a 3-tier, right? Or just so that they're not equal distance, maybe. Because I feel it
3
too.
Jokers is a 9-panel grid.
The what?
Yeah.
The whole thing. 3 Jokers.
Oh yeah, 3
Yeah,
Jokers, right? Yeah.
Jason Fabok.
Yes. Yeah, I do get that feeling too, that if they are, if it is too uniform, if
Then
these
you're
are,
like a boomer.
it does date. It does become a little stagnant at point times. But interesting
But
point.
strangely, if you put 4, it looks fine. I mean, like 3 for some reason. I don't know what it is about 3. I think they're just afraid that it looks kind of old school.
It's been done so often in comics. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I'm just wondering why Jim Lee was trying to.
It also
Minimizes?
minimizes the variances in panel shapes that you can get. I mean, I think any panel that's a square, to me, like a square panel, ugh, I try to avoid those like the plague. There's a
You know what book I love that was done in that grid is the one that Mazzucchelli did with Paul Auster. The
Oh
City-
yeah, City of Glass.
God, it's so good.
It was all square panels.
It was all just the grid, you know, basically.
Oh yeah, but Mazzucchelli is a master at telling the story with panels before he even draws anything. So there is a passage in Daredevil Born Again where there's a fight with a Kingpin. So he laid it out so that the Kingpin always gets a panoramic wide panel, and then Matt Murdock is only in the vertical panels, just
Right.
because Kingpin is badass. It can take up space, and he's kind of confining. So I mean, he does that a lot. It's just the panel foo, I guess.
Hey, you guys. El Capone says Kim Jong-ji just started a live stream on IG, so let's get out of here.
I'm watching it on my phone.
Roy Batty. Okay, there are a couple components. The first panel, again, pushing perspective a little bit more. A lot of this is going to come with time in terms of drawing. I appreciate the storytelling difference in this. In the 4-panel sequence here, where they're kind of going through the vault, and then finding the 2 panels that you have here, where the bot finds the golden porg and hands it to Doom, who then looks at the golden porg. How you've had these 2 panels next to each other with the 2 bots, I mean, it'll probably be a little bit different if we change the bot to the eyeball. However, the head and the head are all the same level in the panel. The porg and the porg are almost the same. So it really becomes, you really lose that kind of movement. You really lose that handing off of the porg thing. And so I would say pick one of them that you want to keep. The other one, I would keep this one. I mean, I would make this one, if we were, again, keeping the vertical panel, going a little bit closer up. And since we've already seen the porg in the previous panel where the Doombot is founded, we don't need to show all of it. We just want to show Doom looking at it. Right? Anything else, guys, you want to add to this?
I think that's good.
Okay.
Those are good ideas.
Roy Batty. El Cabon Inc. Cabon, okay. Cabon, same thing here. When I noticed this, I saw this earlier on Discord. You have the exterior of the bank. And again, I understand that these are layouts, but I would, in the layouts, I would like to indicate a little bit more in terms of, like, here in the second panel, first panel, Capone also has the 3 tiers that Sean mentioned earlier. Um, the first panel is a corner of the street. There's a building there. The second panel, we see the doorway to the bank in the background. The Doombots are kind of Doom with the three Doombots are walking in. Third panel, Doom walks past a father and a daughter, kind of cowered in the middle of the bank with the bank tellers with their hands up. Fourth panel, Kabong holds a gun up to the security guard, or grabs the gun from the security guard. Fifth panel points to the vault that's opened. The manager has opened the vault with the porg inside. And then the last panel, Dr. Doom looks off or hears something from behind. I would caution, or I would ask, recognizing that a lot of the figures are very similar in size, and I would encourage you to push back and forth. If you have a wide shot showing a full body figure, moving to a tighter shot, I would maybe go a little bit more extreme, so that let's say take panel 2 and 3. If we were to keep okay, if you have your 3-panel sequence here, without changing any of the layout, right? You do have a nice foreground, midground, background element. This one, the next, well, we want to kind of have some of the tellers. As Doom is walking by, I would get even closer. And we don't even need to see Doom, we can just see his foot. Can you guys see this?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Now, does anybody die in this? Al Capone? Has James Quo's violent streak rubbed off on anybody else?
I'm putting something into the Butthead artwork channel. Is that a good place for me to put
Yeah,
something? Trying to figure out, make sure I know how to do this. Did I do it? Do I hit the plus sign?
Yeah, just you upload, select it and then plus sign.
I already dragged it to it. Looks like it's there. Now how do I post it?
Plus sign?
Oh, I had to be down in the message and just hit enter. When you guys have time later,
Oh yes, that's a good one to put up.
James was asking me about artists to look at for layout ideas, and because we had mentioned Mazzucchelli and Simonson, and I also brought up Howard Chaykin and Alex Toth, Harvey Kurtzman and Will Eisner, and there's a good it's a little Wally Wood's 22 panels that always work, and I think you guys will get a kick out of this. You'll be inspired if you haven't seen this before. It's a good inspiration on problem solving, on how to different ideas on how to do a panel.
So yeah, I was actually going to post that. That's a great. Thank you for doing that, Tommy. Wally Wood's 22 panels that always work. Really gets to show you how to tell almost the same scene but 22 different ways. or a similar scene 22 different ways. So again, this almost goes into it where you go to wide shot, bird's eye looking down, kind of a close up of the foot as we're walking by. We see and they're kind of cropped. You don't need to see all of them. Then we go to a medium-sized shot, almost over the shoulder of Doom. We're behind Doom now, looking at him holding the gun up to the security guard. This one I don't. Initially, I did I was thinking about, okay, kind of a pullback wider shot where we see a full figure of Doom standing here, maybe another Doombot in the foreground. But then I'm thinking, like, again, these two might be too similar in size between panel. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Panel 5 and 2, and so this I would probably eliminate this figure, make it a hostage or something, just so that there's a slight different variance in the size of Doom. Especially these two panels are right on top of each other. When you have similarities, your eye draws or connects them subconsciously. So I want to try to avoid that, because I want you to read these two first before you get to this one. And then the last panel, again, going for an extreme close-up of Doom's eye looking up. You have him looking over his shoulder. It's a very nice action pose where he's like kind of twisting and turning. However, again, variance in size really is a large component of dynamic storytelling. And so going into the extreme close-up at the end, especially the last panel, makes it a lot more exciting and dramatic. Hopefully we can still capture some of that essence. And then the last panel is always going to draw you to the next page. The other comment that I was going to say is in that first panel where you have the bank building in the middle, right? Show me where the door is on that exterior shot, so that again leads me to the door in panel 2 where they're coming in. Where they're coming into the door, let's keep it open. Little hints, right? I know you have a door there, but maybe one door is open. Maybe a security guard is knocked out by the door. These guys just entered ruthlessly. They didn't just politely enter, or did they? If one of the doors or both of the doors are slightly ajar, slightly open, it gives it a sense that, again, little details showcasing story that these guys are just walking in or barging in. If it's closed, then again, some time has passed.
There's a fun sequence in the How I Draw Comics the Marvel Way where John Buscema draws certain panels different ways. Well, I'm sure we've all seen that. That where he's
The
got like
cigar.
yeah.
Cigar in the hand in the foreground.
Yeah. How to different ways of making it more dynamic. I mean, the book is called The Marvel Way, so that's the way that they think it should be done, but or at that time. But it's some really good points in there. That book really is really good. I think, especially for a young aspiring comic book artist, that it's a really good basic. It's got perspective in there, and yeah, I mean, it's got like everything is in there. It's so good for starting out.
Yeah, this sequence here, where they're talking, smoking a cigar.
Where's that big cigar? Everyone remembers that damn cigar.
Yeah, that's what it made me think of.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm a big proponent of this, moving in and out, changing the size. If you can, you don't have to draw the full figure all the time. And
And the good thing about that is if you've been drawing this way, it really is just like someone tells you to stop doing that and do it a different way. It's like a switch that turns on in your head, so you start drawing instantly better tomorrow. And that's the same thing that happened to Frank Wiley when he first started drawing comics. someone had to tell him that he was just kind of just showing far away diagram shots, which was really good for getting the information across. But they told him, like, once you establish the scene, then pull in and look for interesting camera angles. And then from that day forward, he was like an A-list artist just like overnight.
Kabong Inc. I think you could benefit from that book. I think you might get, if you haven't seen it or if you don't have it, I think it would help a lot with some of the stuff you're working on.
Is it still in print or?
Oh yeah, and he probably already has it. We all have that book, right?
I had it. Yeah, when I was in junior high, I actually drew some of the pages, but it was like I think if I remember correctly, when I did it was like a Spider-Man book. I don't know if it's still the same. My understanding is there was a couple versions, like two or three different versions.
Are you sure you're not thinking of the Marvel Tryout book?
Oh, Marvel Tryout book, yes. That's what.
Yeah, no, this is how to draw comics the Marvel way.
Oh.
The Marvel Tryout book is crap.
Oh. Yeah. But it had like something like this in it.
Oh. Maybe they took pieces of one and put it in the other.
Because I remember seeing something like this in that Marvel Tryout book. Because the Marvel Tryout book came with pages, and it came with a section where you would pencil it, another section where you ink it, another section where you can also color it. But I remember reading something about storytelling, or maybe I also had how to draw comics the Marvel way too. I don't know, and I'm just mixing the two.
I bet you did, and yeah, I always do that where my brain merges the things together.
Yeah, because they all look very similar. So, any other questions, El Cabon, or Cabon Inc.? Is he still here, or is he watching Kim Jong-ji? First time viewer, DHT Arts 79. How you doing? Oh, sorry, what was that, Sean?
Is that that perspective in the first one? It's kind of cool. It's not just a flat on. It's 2-point or 3-point perspective.
Yes. Let's talk about a little bit that first panel. Last notes about it. A quick note is, like, if we're drawing the city, again, this is layout, so I understand that. Make sure that that the cars or people, is it daylight, is it nighttime? Right now there's one car in the whole scene with a
He's
light.
wondering whether you should get rid of that panel altogether. I know Jim Lee would just, if he was going to draw that establishing shot, he would reduce the size of it so it's really like a postage stamp, like really small.
Yeah.
Because the figures are more interesting to look at.
Right. It doesn't need to be that big, right? And then it breaks up it also breaks up again where we talk about all three tiers are the same, although you have it here, right? It breaks this up. If we make it could be just a sliver.
And Jim Lee usually turns a establishing shot into a small, thin vertical panel. And then I always say, like, if you do make it big, then try to use it. So have it not just show a location, but be the first panel of the story where something's going on.
And what I'm also trying to get at too is that if it's in the city, make sure are there people on the sidewalk? Are there more cars? Right now, it looks like an abandoned part of the town. It looks like they're in a warehouse district or something. So
there's some newspapers flowing through.
Newspaper flowing, yeah, or something. This is a case in point where, again, finding reference would actually enhance and help. But yeah, just be aware of those things. And then referencing the buildings themselves. But again, is it a kind of a deserted part of Gotham, where there's not a lot of people walking the streets, there's not a lot of cars, or is it something a little bit more populated? So those are all components that go into storytelling. My AirPods are actually running out of batteries. So we're going to need to wrap this up pretty quickly. Jeremy Joe, last one. Jeremy Joe, 4-panel sequence. This looks like, Jeremy, you drew this digitally.
Nice.
Jeremy has a nice moment here with Dr. Doom towards the end, where he's handed the porg. The porg lights up. There's a nice dramatic shot, and then he looks off. And there is interesting movement here with the sizing. He grows progressively in size from panel 2, 3, and 4.
That's cool.
I do feel like panel 2 seems a little incomplete with the lower bottom half of that panel. Not really sure what you're going in. Is that last panel, is there no panel border on the last panel, panel 4, where it's just kind of floating and blending into the first panel? Or is there supposed to be a panel there, you just didn't draw it?
Oh, so that's him noticing that Batgirl has just crashed in, right?
Yeah, or hearing something or seeing something off in the corner. Okay, supposed to be a panel.
That first one is nice, of how you frame Doom in that big arch.
Yeah, that's a very nice, because it again centralizes him without needing any kind of caption boxes. Visually, when you're looking at him, everybody else is busy doing shit, and then he's the one that's just kind of standing there as if he's in control. So it's a very
Yeah, I
good
like that he gave everybody action to do.
Right.
You know, nobody's just kind of standing around.
Yeah, and that's also a great indicator that, you know, this is the guy in charge. He's the general, and then everybody else is the soldier. So I think that's a great little note there. They also have some push in the background, and we can see some of the details. The teller, it's a nice vintage, older, complex. It's almost like a dome behind in the background of the bank, and then well, it looks like the vault is probably a little bit more high tech with the recessed lighting. Again, this is just layouts, but there's also a lot of mess around. I love mess. I love battle damage. Yeah, I
love that guy off to the left reaching up and pulling out the drawers.
The drawers. And then one guy's like sweeping money into a sack on the right.
Yeah, the other guy's like inspecting some jewel.
Yeah.
I think Jeremy's done a really good job thinking about it, being actually immersed in that moment. It'd be safe to say, I think, Jeremy, when you were doing this layout, you're probably thinking about what it would look like as if you were one of the Doombots, or as a bank manager or customer held hostage in there. So you really get the nice sense of acting. I would maybe look for a slight more variance in the 3 panels on the bottom. Again, maybe ending with a nicer, more extreme close-up of the eye or just the face.
I had an idea for the last panel,
Mm-hmm.
which would be if we were the camera was basically like behind him, and he was turning around to look past us towards the noise.
Oh, so he's looking over we're at his back, and he's looking over his shoulder past us.
Yeah. So it's almost like we've set the camera up just outside the vault door, but up kind of high, and he's turning to look up. So it could even be like a shot that we've sort of done before, but that kind of down shot, just something indicating a little bit as to the direction in which he's looking. Because right now he could be just looking at some drawers on the wall, or one of the dudes is talking to him from off camera or something. And I feel like I'd like to know a little bit more about, where he's looking specifically. So whether we, it could be a low angle, like, what Bernard's doing right now is like he's turning and looking off kind of similar to what you've got, but maybe that you could see the dome in the background, and you see the glass breaking, up above. You could, or there's, yeah.
What was
Regardless of what you draw there, um, what would you feel about the size of that panel? Because for some reason I'm thinking that would be like a very small sliver panel for some reason.
That's a good
I guess
point.
because it's a very quick movement, and then you flip the page, and you can't make the next action seem big without having it be preceded by a very small panel.
Because the last three panels are the same size. So what you're saying, Sean, is make the last one a little bit smaller, right? These two
Yeah.
could be the same. And so it almost becomes like a bump up, like a little bump up, kind of.
And then a full page splash for the next page, possibly.
Yeah, so it leads into something a little bit more dramatic. That's a great point. Just again, worrying about variances and sizes.
One thing that you told me many, many years ago when that kind of changed my mindset was you said it's a good practice in general to put only what's necessary inside the panel, and everything else you just crop out. So it's a good exercise to say, like, well, what do you have to show in order to get the idea across that he's turning quickly because there's a sound? Because you can draw a full figure, or you can draw like an eyeball that's kind of, So I mean, it's basically you taught me basically to just crop down until you get only what's necessary, because the other stuff is kind of like signal to noise. So you want to have all signal and for the people who read these books really fast on the toilet, they can't really take time to look for what you're trying to get across.
Hold on, guys. My AirPods just ran out of batteries. These things only last like 3 hours. Not even.
Well, technically, you should be able to
gotta go
finish
old school
an entire
with
page in
the,
3 hours, according to Eric
Hello?
Larson.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, all right, hold on. I gotta switch out of the
Because we
Discord.
get paid so little, he said set a timer,
Um,
and after 3 hours, move on to the next page.
Well, I guess. I mean, if you
Give
really
me a
want to
sec.
make a good living,
I can't
guess
hear the.
it's fine. But who wants that?
All right, so let's wrap this up. Shoot. How do I?
This is how the stream ends.
So did we get to everybody's?
I can't hear anybody.
Man, that was a lot of people who
Yeah.
did this assignment. So I was like, man,
Put these back
this
on.
is like work to go through all these.
I'm really tired.
Yeah.
You did a great job. It's very informative and very
good.
helpful.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Bart.
Hello? I can't hear anybody. Hello? Can you guys say something? Oh, now they're disconnected. Yeah. All right. Okay. I can hear them, but Jump back in. All right, let's set the, sorry about this, guys. Okay, let's get out of here. We'll do the assignment for next week, which will be page 2. Page 2 and 3, but we're just going to do page 2 right now, is basically Batgirl. You guys can hear me, right? You guys can, okay. Page 2, 2 and or 3, we're just going to focus on 2. 2 is going to be Batgirl crashing through the skylight and knocking out the 3 Doombots, right? So that's pretty much our version of all hell breaks loose. And so she's going to take out the 3 Doombots, but somehow Doom is going to escape. But only the page 2, so she's going to break through the window, the skylight, and knock out 1 or 2 of the Doombots. Because on page 3, she's going to knock out the second or third one before Doom escapes. Right, so next page assignment is just going to be Batgirl knocking out, breaking through the glass and knocking out 1 or 2 of the Doombots. So everybody, thank you again. And then again, post your layouts on Discord. Make sure you hit that follow button if you're new. We are very close to 1,000 followers. 11 more, and then I will tell my most embarrassing chat story. And I want to thank Tommy. I want to thank Sean. I want to thank Courtney. I want to thank Fletch, and I want to thank Ace. And above all, also thank you guys. Oh, the Pandemos is here. Jerry was busy tonight. He does send his regards. And happy birthday to Tommy. Tommy, I wonder if you went to Denny's and got a free meal. And let's keep those layouts going. I'll do the layouts as well over the week, and then show you guys what I did, and we can compare and contrast next week. So let's go raid somebody. El Cabon, who should we raid? Is Michael still on? Yeah, I can't hear guys in the Discord. So, I don't. Michael's not on, is he? Joey. Okay, let's see if Joey Lee Cabral is Joey Lee on. No, I don't see Joey's not on. Box office artist. Okay, let's go raid box office artist. Oh, he's doing some comic book art. Thank you everybody for watching. Stay safe. If you guys got anything else to say it right now. Happy holidays.